What is up there everyone, it's the guy with no gamers here, and today I wanted to talk about where game developers have gone wrong, because they have made some serious mistakes in the last few years and it has cost them quite dearly. And I'm mainly today going to be focusing on DICE and the Call of Duty developers and how they have all sort of made a lot of mistakes based on each other's success. Now, as we know, Call of Duty is still the most popular franchise. It still sells and tops the sales charts each year. Games have beaten the records Call of Duty has set, but Call of Duty is still the highest selling game each year. Now, after Modern Warfare 3, which released in the same year that Battlefield 3 did, Battlefield 3 actually gained a lot more success and exposure from that game because they were so much more successful in that more people realised that Battlefield 3 was a very good game, so they went over to it. Battlefield 3 took a lot of the COD community by storm because a lot of us realised, hey, this is a really good game, I want to play this instead, or as well as Call of Duty. Now from this, Battlefield realised this and DICE ended up rushing out Battlefield 4 to try and beat Infinity Ward when they made Call of Duty Ghosts. And then also because Call of Duty realised that a lot of their fans were going over and playing Battlefield instead, they then catered their game to cater to the Battlefield crowd, and they've both kind of made that same mistake. So Call of Duty went down the road of trying to make dynamic maps and Levolution, making large maps that people could flank around in because that catered a lot to the Battlefield crowd, whereas Battlefield 4 went and simply tried to go for the wow factor and beat Call of Duty Ghosts by just stunning people by what the gimmicks they could do with their brand new engine. Now, unfortunately, because of the success that they each had with their previous games, they basically turned it into a developer dick measuring contest because they just decided we're going to show off all the little features that we can do now. So Call of Duty, Battlefield 4 went into Levolution and all these gimmicks and boats and stuff that they could do, which was basically just like, look at what we can do, this is what we can do now. And it didn't work because all of the features, they may have seemed cool, but the problem is they really didn't make for entertaining gameplay, and that was where the games have just gone wrong. And now, in fact, even with Advanced Warfare, they've now gone with exosuits. Like, look, we can program all this and we can do all this with the quote-unquote new engine they have for Call of Duty, which is still the same remodified Quake engine that they've been using for years. But the thing was, they just rushed out games too much. Call of Duty is always going to be a 1 year release game, which means that the developers now have 3 years, but I still don't think that's enough. Because when you take into account that Battlefield 4 was released 2 years after Battlefield 3, and it kind of showed because Battlefield 3 was brought out 6 years after Battlefield 2. They had other Battlefield titles in the meantime, but the actual numbered Battlefield title came out 6 years after its predecessor, and it showed. Battlefield 3 was a really good game and still is. It plays really well, especially on PC, which I have been playing a lot more recently simply because unfortunately on PS3 it's really annoying. You can't use the L2 and R2 buttons to shoot, you have to use L1 and R1, which is really uncomfortable, and I just really don't like that. And there seems to be someone with like frame issues, but that's a different topic. But the problem was all the games just bounced off their prior success and they tried to show each other up by trying to show what they could do. And unfortunately it's gone completely wrong. Unfortunately the game developers have gone so much into trying to beat each other that they haven't realised that they've completely gone away from what the gaming should be about, which is fun. Unfortunately Call of Duty is now catering towards the MLG side of gaming because that's where most of their fans are. They want to be competitive, they want to be that next superstar, even though people don't realise that you're not really a superstar, you're just an internet quote-unquote famous person. And unfortunately that has really detracted from the fun because it's gone into a more competitive game and you can't quite have fun. However, DICE has and EA have realised the issues they had with Battlefield 4 and bringing a game out too early, and so they've delayed Battlefield Hardline. Admittedly, Battlefield Hardline is still slightly controversial because people feel that it shouldn't be called a Battlefield game because realistically it isn't really a Battlefield game. Battlefield is sort of based around being a militaristic shooter / simulator. It's still not exactly a simulator, but it's supposed to be a more realistic shooter using proper physics effects and everything. Whereas Hardline is a cops and robbers based game which uses Battlefield mechanics, so people feel that it should just be called Hardline. But anyway, they decided to delay the game because of the amount of backlash they got from the community saying it was a DLC, so they delayed it so it could be more of a cops and robbers game. Call of Duty in a sense also delayed their games by giving the developers an extra year to develop it. However, the recent addition of Sledgehammer Games has received quite a negative response from the community because a lot of people don't like the decisions they've made. And I do agree with that. They have made some pretty dodgy decisions and they haven't quite gone about fixing their game in the way that would be effective. But anyway guys, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I've just sort of thought about this and how the developers kind of just went wrong and they really need to go back to making a fun game. My hopes at the moment are pinned on Battlefield Hardline simply because I just want a game that has fun gameplay that can keep me interested and isn't got game breaking flaws. But this has been the guy with no gamertag, and I'll see you on another video.